Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Hitting the Apex. Joined by my guy Evan here. Evan, how's it going, man?
Very good. Great weekend overall. Miami boy through and through, as everybody knows. You got the Canes going on over there with your hat. I got the Dolphins going on over here. Big win for the Heat yesterday. Man, it's definitely a great weekend down here in Miami.
Yeah, and big weekend for our boy Lando as well. We'll obviously get into that. First, as always, we review our predictions, which Evan, yeah, you nailed both winners. You had Lando winning the sprint and the race. You nailed that. You had Max second, he came third, so not bad on the race. Charles third. We would talk about what happened to him. Surprise was George DNF. That didn't happen. He didn't finish the race. I had Max winning the sprint, which was wrong. I had Lando winning the race, which was right. Wrong Mercedes in second. I had George. It was Kimmy who had an outstanding weekend.
Sick weekend.
And I had Charles in third, as did you. And yeah, he kind of got victimized there. And then I know the surprise pick is, supposed to be an off the wall thing, so it's generally going to be wrong and sometimes ridiculous. But you got to put this one in the Louvre. I had Bortoletto top seven, and he didn't make a laugh. So right into the wall that man went. So that not his fault. Stroll punted him off.
Yeah.
Still, that was an all timer of a bad prediction for me. So that's where we left it. Obviously, the big story of the weekend: Lando Norris dominated the entire weekend. As pull up the starting with the um, with the sprint race, which I am actively about to pull up the results on. There we go. So that's the actual race. That's the sprint race.
Mm.
Lando winning the sprint race. After a red flag tossed by his teammate. As you'll notice, Oscar not listed there because he crashed out after going through a puddle. It was changeable conditions, a little bit difficult, but yeah, Lando put one qualified first for the sprint race, and especially in those changeable conditions, it is a benefit to be in the front. Where you're not getting the spray and all of that, and he took advantage to see that through to victory.
Yeah, I mean, we all kind of talked about this. We thought that Lando was going to have a good weekend overall. He's been, the more dominant driver out of the McLarens. Oscar seems like he's kind of lost a step a little bit here, but I mean, with in that sprint race, we got what we were hoping for. We talked about it all last week. We want to see the changeable conditions. We want to see, them go to the inters, and I know, did they even put on inters at all? I mean, they had
No,
they pretty much all
it
had
was
all their
dry enough where
slicks,
they were on slicks. Yep.
but there was still enough moisture out there that there was, it was difficult for the drivers. It was difficult for them to get out there and actually, put solid laps down. And you saw that with Oscar going over what essentially was just a little bit of the curb and a little bit of a puddle that was knocked up, and lost it right then and there. And who was it right behind him too? I think it was Yuki or somebody like that right
Yeah, it
behind
was
him.
three. It was three drivers in a row. I think crashed in that corner. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was Kim Bortoletto and Piastri and Colapinto.
Yeah, so you had all three of them crash pretty much one right after the other, all doing the exact same thing. So we wanted to see those changeable conditions. We wanted to see how it was going to shake up with the drivers. It sucks for Oscar that it happened like that. It's great for Lando that it happened like that, because it gave him even more of that lead going into the race on Sunday. He had that confidence, being that he qualified first for the sprint race. To then win the sprint race, to go into qualifying and have that confidence going in there. It was interesting seeing how the track was in qualifying, because you know the sprint race was on Saturday, the same exact time that, or right after that, was the qualifying. And you could see the track wasn't dry completely yet, but it was a lot drier. And especially going into Q3 and all that, you could really see the difference that those few hours made out in the sun, which was good. And again, I thought this weekend gave us exactly what we wanted. We wanted to see good racing all the way up and down the field, and we saw that. you could see at the very end they cut to it at the last second. What was it? A train of like 6 or 7 cars that were all battling each other coming right up the final straight. You know, and that's Formula One racing at its best. Is when these guys can compete with each other. There's passes that are made all the way up and down. You got stories like what Max Verstappen did, which I'm sure we'll get into. But then you also have great stories with drivers that we weren't expecting. None of us had Antonelli doing anything this weekend, and he came out and he dominated just as much as Lando did. You know, in
Well,
regards to
not just as much.
well, I
Second,
mean,
not first.
you're right, but out of everybody else, he qualified second for the sprint, ended up second for the sprint. He qualified second for the race, ended second in the race. I mean that for a car that we all think is probably the third to fourth fastest car out there right now,
Well,
right?
it's
And
second
and
now in the constructors, which we'll talk about in a bit. But yeah,
yeah, but I mean overall, we say that those Mercedes are really only good in certain conditions. For him to come out there and do all that, I thought was very impressive as well. But again, we'll get into that when we talk about
yep,
our drivers of the day. Going into the race after this.
yep. And shout out to Brand the man. Let's go, Lando. Shout out to both your parents. Good evening. What's up? All
Good
right,
evening.
yeah. So I guess we should get, like you said, Oscar skidded out, crashed. Lando, they actually, it caused a red flag. Lando, they actually put him on the wrong tire, but he managed and got through to the end there. Just holding off Antonelli for the last several laps. So 8 points gained on his only title rival at this point. And so then we get to the race, and like you said, Lando put it on pole, led most of the race, other than out of sequence pit stops, and went on to win comfortably. Actually, as you said, Antonelli held off Max at the end. Russell coming in fourth, Piastri in fifth. Obviously had the incident that got him penalized that really took his opportunities away from him there. And then, Bierman had an outstanding race as well. As you said, when we talk about surprise performances, he's certainly one of them. Then the two Racing Bulls, well, you won't see Yuki Tsunoda anywhere near here. He should not be in Formula One anymore. And there's Hulkenberg and Gasly rounding out the top 10. So what was your overall kind of take on the race here?
So I mean, overall, I thought it was a fantastic race. I thought it was again we talk about good racing all the way up and down the grid. I thought seeing Max doing the Max thing of starting in the pit lane and basically taking advantage of the yellow flags that got or the safety car that came out when Oscar Piastri decided that he was just gonna dive bomb again into other
So
cars. We'll get into that in a little bit,
we'll
but
get into that.
yeah, Oscar Piastri doing Oscar Piastri things. But then him taking advantage of it, getting on that different strategy, putting himself up in a position to where he was gonna be able to get himself a nice little podium there. I thought. I was surprised when he did that last pit stop, man. I mean, I know that he was starting to fall off, but I thought he had at least enough in those tires to be able to stay ahead of Lando at least for a little bit, because he's not going to just let Lando go by him. But then on
No, he
top of
wouldn't have
that,
had he wouldn't have been able to defend. That McLaren is so much faster on better rubber. He already breezed
it
past him once. He's going to do it again.
it is. But I mean, he's still going to give him a fight, at least somewhat of a fight. And then I think he could have at least stayed ahead of Antonelli. Antonelli, didn't look
I don't
great.
know
It would
because
have been close.
his tires were falling off. I think. Look, I mean, if you look at where he finished, I think they were doing the math on that and
Yeah,
saying, we pit him now, we can get second, and they damn near did.
yeah.
And I think the other alternative is those tires were on the end of life. There's no way it was going to hold Lando off, but I think they were worried it was going to completely fall off to the point that they're losing a half a second to a second on a lap, and then they try to pit him, and then he finishes like sixth because at that point it's too late to make the time back up. So I think once you know for sure And I think it was pretty obvious that maybe he puts up more of a fight than last time, but he was going to get past him. And holding up Lando is also going to slow him down. You're thinking if we pit him now, and I'm sure their computer showed them, hey, he's gonna finish second.
Yeah.
So obviously Antonelli did a great job holding him off because Antonelli again had a fantastic weekend and was on it the whole weekend, and Max couldn't overtake him. Basically, is what happened. But I'm sure on their computer simulation that he's gonna finish second if we pit him right now. There's no way he's holding off Lando if we don't. So hey, let's go ahead and pit him and get second. And then obviously Antonelli had other ideas. Oscar, that penalty. All right. So I think the sprint race, he again, it was 1 point coming into the weekend. It's basically a tie. He's now pissed away 8 points. He's pissed away points to the point that, he could win the race. And if Lando finishes second, Lando's still in front because he gave away 8 points by crashing in the sprint race. So I think he panicked. He was in fourth. Like he said, he dived on trying to get onto Lando's gearbox. He's like, I have to win this race. Because even if he, over several laps overtakes and gets the second, if Lando runs away, he's lost another 7 points. And that means he would have lost 15 points this weekend. So I think he did panic. And like you say, he definitely dive bombed. However, and he locked up. I mean, that was clear. However, he didn't actually lose control of the car. He was on the curb. There was nowhere for him to go further left. He was half off the track on the inside. So I don't know. 10 seconds is a big penalty.
It was.
For something that I think he basically got that penalty because Leclerc lost his race. And, obviously he bumped Antonelli, who bumped Leclerc, who those Ferraris apparently had detachable parts this weekend because every time they bumped into anything, the whole car broke. But Hamilton barely made contact on the straight.
They were driving
ripped off and went under his car. So but I thought 10 seconds was a harsh penalty. Look, I am firmly on board with if you're going to overtake, it's your responsibility. Because if you don't enforce that standard, everyone's going to dive bomb everything.
Yeah. So
I get that, but I think if smoke doesn't come up, I know he locked up, but I don't think he ever lost control of it. He really just kind of was sitting there. Like he didn't move off the line. He didn't lose control of the car. He didn't overshoot anything. They just clipped tires, and that was that.
I think it was more of the fact that he came in with such speed, locked the tires up, came in with such force that he hit one person that then hit another person that then knocked out, or which then obviously that second person was Leclerc and knocked him out. If you're under control, if you have that car slowed down enough, you're going to hit the first car and that car's not going to move. They may have a little bit of a jolt to the left or a jolt to the right, a little bit of a thing here. That car had so much force being hit to it that, it didn't damage. What was it? Was it Antonelli that he hit?
Antonelli and then Antonelli into Leclerc. Yeah.
So he hit Antonelli in a spot that it didn't damage Antonelli's car, but Antonelli's car then had so much force after that hit to damage Leclerc's car. That to me, I know that we don't like saying, punish because of the result, punish because of the action, but that was a harsh result. That it knocked out a car for the entire race. It was a move that didn't need to happen. It was him being overly aggressive. And also, maybe it's a little bit of the stewards looking at it and saying, we didn't penalize him, for the racing incident in Austin. Let's, this is a similar thing. He's trying to make a move that's overly aggressive, got the car out of control, and ended up, ruining somebody's race because of it.
Yeah, I mean, I felt 10 seconds was a big penalty for a lockup when you're, again, if you look at where his car is, there was nowhere for him to go anyway. So you're basically saying you shouldn't have attempted it, which is fair, but 10 seconds is a big penalty. To me, that felt like a 5-second penalty than a 10-second penalty. Carly's having fun in the chat, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
If that was a disqualification, Carly, Max would be banned from the sport for some of the stuff he's done. So But anyway,
I was
so as
thinking
you
the
said,
same
Max.
thing. I was thinking the same thing.
Anyway, but obviously Max had a fantastic race from the pit lane. He did not have a fantastic qualifying on pace. Both Red Bulls did not get out of Q1, and then yeah, he obviously had a much better race. I also think, like you said, not just use the yellow. I mean, he fell ass backwards into that alternate strategy by puncturing his
Yeah,
tire. They pitted him out
yeah,
of sequence, and it worked.
it worked
So
so well.
I know it's just like, hey, look what happened. Look what we found, and that does go back to one thing we've talked about quite a few times. And obviously, Max was fantastic on the day, and you can see his team. Well, you can't see where his team is, but if I keep scrolling, eventually you'll find him down here in 17. But so so full credit to Max on just an amazing drive. But we've talked a little bit about pitting out of sequence when you're in a faster car is a smart move given the how difficult overtaking has become this year and how many laps you waste sitting behind a car trying to overtake it. Just to pit out of sequence, get clean air, bank those lap times. Even if it's a suboptimal strategy, you still end up better off race wise, not having to navigate through that. I think we saw that with him when he did comp on cars. He had tire deltas because he took the extra pain of the extra pit stop. Of course, he took them under safety cars, so he joined the back of the pad, but it wasn't he didn't lose the pit lane delta. So again, he smartly navigated that. Um, and yeah, by being out of sequence when he came up on these cars, he just had a tire offset, and he obviously had a fantastic driver, just skinned him, and basically didn't slow his progress down at all. And he moved up through the field. It was obviously a fantastic drive, but I do think there's something to be said about just pit out of sequence and everything will be fine.
I mean,
And
everything will be fine.
because
Everything will
if
be
you're
fthink
not,
if you're Max Verstappen. Everything will be
well, I
fine.
think I
And
think you could
if
say the same thing for the McLarens. There's been times where they've
yeah,
kind of just stuck to their tried and true, like this is my strategy. We're going to execute this. And it's like, nah, get out of that dirty air,
yeah,
unleash that beast. And yes, on paper, your other time might have been faster, but that clean air, putting in the laps, getting the offsets actually makes you more competitive. When you're not up front, obviously, when Lando just puts it on pole, pulls away, and just cruises, that's the best thing to do. But when you're trying to make up ground or you get stuck behind someone, just go out of sequence, see what happens. And we've seen that multiple times with, over the years with Hamilton and Verstappen. It's not actually, you can say this strategy or that strategy is the right strategy, but actually just get them out of sequence with everyone else. And they're so much faster, they're going to just win. And he got to third from the pit lane, which I believe has happened 3 times in Formula One history. So
I think the record was
definitely,
second place.
yeah.
The record
So
was
it was an
second.
all time performance for him.
Yeah, not for sure. And you know, I know we're probably going to start to get into this. What was your disappointment of the day?
I mean, it's the Ferraris as a collective.
Yeah,
We're going to look at the constructor stand. I mean, they basically imploded. Hamilton actually did to himself. It's partially he got bumped at the beginning, and that's why he fell back, and then he wrecked his own race by I forget it. I think he ran to the back of Signs, I believe it was, but he ran up the back of someone on the straight, and then Leclerc obviously just got punted off, so it wasn't really his doing. But yeah, you expect better out of. I mean, they got to just be. They needed those points. We're gonna look at the constructors here. I mean, they went from second to fourth. It's a bad weekend for Ferrari. What about you?
I'm only going to say this because there was a lot of talk about this driver coming into the race. There was a lot of expectations on him, and I know it was his home race, but there was I literally just watched a podcast with him and Max Verstappen. I think it was with the PKs with Nelson Piquet Jr. and maybe another Brazilian, um, ex Formula One driver, ex driver, where Max is basically saying how Bortoleto is the next big thing coming, and how he can't wait because he feels like eventually they're gonna be driving in the same car together, and that he, there's all this stuff that they keep on talking about Bortoleto, and that he's been so great. And I mean, this was a stinker for your first home race. This was a
I,
stinker.
I mean, he got strolled.
He did, but I mean,
Stroll just knocked him into the wall.
I mean, I get
Why
it,
is
but it's
Stroll
like,
out there for seriously? Like, what is he doing?
yeah,
Why is he still in? He does
his
not
father,
give.
his
Yeah, but
father.
he's no. But I'm just okay. No. I understand the political dynamic there. That he'll never get fired. He can drive that car till he's 60. I'm
Yeah,
saying he clearly does not give a crap anymore.
yeah.
Why is he bothering to do this? No, he.
I don't know.
I will say, Borland also crashed in the sprint, so
That's what I'm
he had a
saying. He
weekend.
crashed in the sprint
Yeah,
race
he
as
had a bad
well.
weekend.
You
Not saying it's
know,
an invalid choice, just in that race. I mean, Stroll just strolled it right off the track. I mean,
I mean, I think with how well Antonelli did, with how well Bierman did, with how top 10 for Hadjar, ninth place for Hulkenberg, his teammate in the other Sauber, you know, I wanted to see him come out and have a really good weekend overall, just because we want to see a Brazilian driver do well. We want to see somebody for that country come out and dominate. We haven't seen a great Brazilian Formula One driver since who was it, Felipe Massa,
even
so it's
he
like,
is probably not some. I mean, it's really been. I mean, the last world champion is still Senna, right?
yeah, well, did it was Massa, did Massa get close to a championship, or
He was the one that Hamilton, when Hamilton passed Glock on the last
oh, okay,
corner,
yeah, so he
that
was the
was
last
Massa
one who got
finished second. Yeah,
close.
yeah.
Yeah, so it had to have been Senna was the last Brazilian world champion, and but again, you see the passion that country has for racing. You see whenever you go, whenever the cameras pan up to the stands, how much fun everybody seems to be having. It's just like Mexico. Mexico City is the same thing. You can tell these Latin American countries, they love Formula One. They love the competitive racing. Interlagos is one of the greatest tracks in the history of Formula One that produces some of the best racing. With even with these cars that don't want to race each other. Pretty much, these cars hate being all next to each other and competing with each other. You still see them come out and have good racing and good battles. So it's like it's one of those things that I wanted to see him come out this weekend and have a good weekend with your surprise pick. Even I was rooting for that to happen because I wanted to see him have a good weekend overall. But that was a disappointment for me because I think you could really see there was what was it though? There was a video that came up on TikTok or one of the short form videos that showed Bortoleto crashing in the sprint race, or maybe it was in the actual race. I can't remember exactly, but it was from the stands, and you literally heard an audible, like, you could hear how upset the fans were in the video seeing that he wrecked because they wanted to see him do good. We all wanted to see him do good, but yeah, that's my disappointment for the weekend overall was him. But yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from with the Ferraris because
And then some
that
of
was
this
bad.
stuff. I mean, some of it's just like we talked. Yuki is just worthless. And no, yeah. I mean, let's be real here.
Yeah,
And we're just so used to it, it doesn't really factor. And I will say, I mean, we just a little bit of news, bring Colapinto back for another year, and
yeah.
I mean, they might as well fold the operation. I don't know what they're even doing over there. What about driver of the day? It's a tough one. Who do you have there? There's several candidates here that really
I mean,
had themselves.
Max won it on or from the broadcast. I'm going Antonelli. I mean, the kid is what 19 years old, and you got Max Verstappen coming up behind you on the last lap, basically on your gearbox. You could tell he got rattled because he went wide in the infield. He almost lost the car, but then composed himself, kept it going, and then basically just outperformed the last couple of turns and stayed in front of arguably one of the greatest drivers of all time, especially in our generation of Formula One drivers. Kept him behind him, by half a second, three quarters of a second to be in second place. On top of the fact that he, you know, dominated, like I said, for except for Lando Norris, you know, I thought Kimi did a great job all weekend. I thought he came out and really showed, his quality ahead of Russell, staying ahead of Max for that last bit. It wasn't a situation of, oh, we're gonna have Antonelli pass Russell. We're gonna, make this. No, he kept himself ahead of Russell the entire race. I thought that was fantastic. I give him a lot of props, and I'm excited to see how, what he does for the rest of the year.
Yeah, he kept Russell behind him the whole weekend,
Yeah,
which again, Russell's the lead driver, but he wasn't this weekend. Shout out to Anselli for that. I do want to throw a shout out to Behrman that he made that Haas look like it wasn't a Haas this race
second week in a row.
overtaking. Yeah, drove a great race, but I'm going up with Lando. The amount
Yeah,
of pressure, and early in the year we talked about how in the critical lap he screws it up. When he gets on pole, he messes the start up. This was sprint pole, win the sprint race. Qualified on pole, won the race, dominated the whole weekend in a very critical and high pressure situation for him, and where his teammate wilted under that same pressure because they were basically tied coming in. He did not.
Q
He
three
stepped
wasn't
up.
Q3 wasn't good for him either. Remember, first lap of Q3, he messed up that lap and came in and didn't finish the lap. He came
Yep.
into the last lap of Q3 in like sixth place. He had to pull one out, and he pulled. I mean, he had a great lap at that final lap. So yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah, and so that's who I'm going with because I think ultimately, yeah, Beerman had a great race. Kimmy had a great race. Max had a great race, but his weekend overall was damaging. He needed to do better. He's technically he, Oscar and Lando are still in the championship race. Everyone else is eliminated, but he basically got eliminated this weekend, and part of that's a terrible qualifying effort. So a great race, but overall, I got to give it to Lando for the weekend and just dominating everything under extreme pressure, and doing something that not only everyone's criticizing him for not being able to do earlier this year, which is deliver under pressure, but something that was valid, right? I mean, he did basically do what Oscar is doing now. So I'll give it to Lando. And speaking of Lando, he has now opened up. I mean, this is we're not that far removed, a couple of races removed from a a huge delta the other way. But now got 24 points to Oscar, and again 49 to Max with three races. That there's one more sprint race, but that is likely Dunzo for Max. And they really hyped up that he's coming back. He's going to do it, and we kept pointing out there's two drivers he has to overtake, and they're in faster cars than him, and likely one of them will deliver at some point. It's been Lando. So yeah, this could be when we if Lando were to finish the deal and win the World Drivers' Championship, which right now he's heavily favored to do with three races left and a 24-point gap. This might be the weekend he did it. Because he made up 23 points this weekend on Oscar. So yeah, big change there. And the other big change this weekend is the constructors got all. So coming into the weekend, Ferrari was the second. They have with that disaster of a race and with the performance in the sprint race and in the actual race with the Mercedes, they lost a lot of points to Mercedes this weekend. They're now 36 points back of Mercedes and even fell behind Max Verstappen. So
By himself.
I mean, pretty much. There's a little
Yeah.
actually. that Yuki bump of a few points is probably the difference right now. But so that's a disaster weekend for Ferrari, who I think, especially when you see their reaction coming out of the weekend, I think they were really targeting second. Felt good that they were going to finish there, and to now have a pretty big gap to make up over 3 races. It is obviously constructors. You can get a lot more points, so it's across 2 cars. So it's not impossible, but I don't think there was any way they envisioned being 36 points back of Mercedes coming out of that weekend. So really a damaging weekend for Ferrari, and opposite for Mercedes. They they had a great weekend, again spearheaded by Kimi, but second and third in the sprint, second and fourth in the race, collected a lot of points, and that's reflected on the constructors championship. And so yeah, we will see also because of yeah, no, exactly. They're Ferrari is, well, I think they had a terrible weekend. And then yeah, they did. They're basically saying they need to both of their drivers need to focus on driving and less on jogging, is what they said. When I mean, kind of harsh on Leclerc, who was just chilling there when he got spirit knocked off the track. But sure, okay, whatever you say. But yeah, no, I feel like they've won second place now, which they very well might have. Then down the standings, yeah, Haas and Aston Martin. Aston Martin has not scored a point in a couple of races now, and Haas might overtake them. Especially if Bierman keeps doing what he did this weekend. So there are a couple of battles to play for. Obviously, third and fourth is tight. And yeah, way back now, pretty big gap back from Mercedes now after that. So Mercedes has got to feel pretty good about if they just even if they finish fifth and sixth going the rest of the way, they'll probably hold that spot. So
yeah,
they got to feel good about that.
Agreed.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that, just because again, it's also so it's two things, right? It's obviously if you're going to make a change going at the drivers' championship, you know who the change would be. It's not going to be Leclerc.
Yeah. Well,
so
I think the only way that would happen, Morgan, is if Hamilton retires.
I don't think he would retire.
I think he would after a year like this. This might be one of those things that we come to the end of the year, and Lewis Hamilton has a press conference right at the end of it and says something to that effect. I mean, granted, could a Lawrence Stroll, coax him away from being retired? We saw Michael Schumacher come back and drive for Mercedes for a couple of years. So that might be a possibility, but I don't know. I'm kind of more leaning to the fact that Lewis is going to retire at this point, especially after this past weekend, than I was a few weeks ago. Somebody had mentioned it on one of the chats or one of the things, the shows that I follow as well on Formula One. But it's just one of those things that it's just like he just doesn't seem happy. He doesn't seem like he's enjoying this, and to now go into a new set of regulations with all brand new cars, brand new engines, brand new everything. And I don't know. This could be it for him. In my eyes, this could be it for him.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I mean, right now the only if you just want to get out of Ferrari, I believe the only Red Bull second seat they still haven't officially put Hadjar in there, and then obviously the Racing Bull seats, which he's not going to go drive for Racing Bull. So it would be the only place if he wasn't going to retire or want to get away from Ferrari. I think that's the only will be Max's teammate at Red Bull, which would certainly be something.
We'll find out.
Yeah, I think he'll be back because I still think. Well, first of all, in terms of like Ferrari actually firing him, it is still a business, and he brings in so much money that no, that's not going to happen. But
Ferrari's
But
not gonna fire him. If he leaves
no,
that team, he's gonna leave that team. That's it.
yeah, I agree. I still honestly, I still think 2001 and what happened and that last few laps and the safety car, rules not being applied correctly and he should have the most drivers championships in history and he's tied because they stole one
Yeah.
and I don't think he's good enough to win just flatly even if you put him in the McLaren right now he's not good enough to win the championship like Norris would beat him.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge Hamilton fan. He's like one of the first drivers I really followed. Like as a fan of the driver, I have a painting of him in the McLaren in his yellow helmet up in my living room. Like, but
Nice.
I mean, he's older now. It's just like Alonso doesn't have it enough to win races anymore, and neither does Hamilton doesn't appear to either. And so, but I do think he'll keep chasing that championship they stole, and until he realizes that hey, I can't actually. There's no way I'm going to get that back. But I believe he's a little bit on a fool's errand right now, trying to just he earned that record and they stole it from him and he's been trying to get it back ever since. And I don't think he has that type of performance in him anymore. I think it's kind of yeah, I mean these guys the thing is these guys take such good care of themselves now and they stay in shape. Like Alonso,
Oh yeah.
no one used to drive that long. Like, I mean, but they can actually do it now. Like, and Hamilton he obviously takes very good care of himself. He can keep driving forever without like, I mean, figuratively speaking, obviously not actually forever, but like he can do that at a decent level without like actually like because I mean, obviously, I mean, you know this. We cover this sport, and you're very much into right. Like it's not a car. The physical toll it takes on you is very heavy. But these guys are so well conditioned now compared to like what they were 20, 30 years ago, where, after the race they go out drinking. And no, they don't do that anymore. Now they're like, where's my high protein shake? I'm in recovery mode and all. And it extends their careers to the point that, yeah, like, I think Alonso can drive into his 50s at the same level he's doing now. But that level is not the level he was at in Renault when he was winning championships. I think we're seeing the same thing with Hamilton. Like he's worse than Leclerc, and that's just the reality of it. He's making mistakes that he wouldn't have made 10 years ago, and that's the age. The age is not what it used to be, where like I physically cannot finish races because I'm too old and I'm not in good enough shape. They can do that, but the slight slowdown there is the difference. That's how he's running into the back of someone in the street last weekend. It's just a little difference makes a big difference, and but I think he's going to keep chasing that dream. They owe him one, man. They owe him one. He's trying to get it, and I think Ferrari's his best option next year. So that's where he'll be. But I think if I think I agree with you. I think he is miserable at Ferrari, but there's nowhere else for him to go. All right. Well, there is somewhere for everyone to go, which is Vegas. So that is next on the calendar. As you said, it's Spider Pig.
I do want to apologize, guys. I don't have a video for this week. There wasn't a good track mod for the Las Vegas. Like what do they call it? What's it actually called? The
It's called the
Las
Las
Vegas.
Vegas Grand Prix.
No, but I'm saying like, do they call the track something like
They're on the strip. I mean, that's
yeah.
exactly what they're on. But
So the Las Vegas Grand Prix circuit, there was really no good
it's
version of it that
yeah,
I could download and make a good video for us for this week. But I will come back to it because the last couple tracks, there's great mods for those. So
yeah. After
um,
this, it's Qatar and then Abu Dhabi. So.
yeah, those ones, there's plenty of really good um, content for those to be able to. I'll be able to put those together really nice. So, but uh, do you want to go over the circuit? Or you want me to go over the circuit?
No, go for it.
So really, this is the definition of a street circuit. This is the one of those things that we say about a lot of these street circuits. There's a lot of long straights and a lot of 90-degree corners. This is kind of the epitome of it. Going into that turn 1, 2 sequence is just nice little hairpin, kind of a longer like U turn almost. Then going down past turn 3 into the first DRS zone of the lap, long straight, almost as long as some of the straights at other tracks that we see, main straights that we see. I think that even shorter straight there is just as long as some of the straights at Interlagos. So you're basically going down a tunnel of lights. You get to see all the lights from the Las Vegas skyline. That right in there is just a nice little spot for overtaking, because going into that next turn 4 is a heavy, or turn 5, I'm sorry, is a heavy
It's fine.
braking, yeah, heavy braking 90-degree corner. That's where we see a lot of incidents happen on this track. I think that's where Lando Norris had an incident a couple years back. There's it's a heavy braking zone going into the next sequence of turns, with turns 6, 7, and 8 and 9. Nice little, again, chicane, similar to some of those chicanes that we see at some of the other street circuits. What was the one that's right on the beach? The street circuit that's right on the beach, that's early in the year. They have a sequence that's similar to that. I can't remember the name of it.
So
Uh,
it's right on the beach.
yeah, it's like it's literally you could see the water from it.
It's not Australia, right?
No, not Australia. It's
Saudi Arabia.
yeah, maybe
You
it's
see the
Saudi.
water from it, but it's not. Okay.
Yeah, maybe it's Saudi. But again, there's a sequence that's very similar to that. It's Saudi, because it's again the way street circuits always end up being, it works out that they can make those little chicanes like that. So then again, going down that back next sequence between what is it, turn 8 and turn 12, they're going pretty much flat out, getting close to the wall. It's beautiful to see. You'll see a lot of sparks in the air. Going to, again, that turn 12, another 90-degree sharp left hand turn, coming down to basically a stop, and then going down. I think this is the second longest straight in Formula One, or it might be the longest, flat out sequence in Formula One, where these cars are just foot pedal to the metal all the way down to the floor, getting up to some of the highest top speeds that you'll see. And then going into the final little sequence again, where it's another little chicane, little left, right, left, going into another flat out sequence, coming down flat out through turn 17 and over the start finish line. So it's basically just a lot of straights, a lot of flat out sequences with some little corners here and there. It's fun to see the environment around there. I think it's between turn 10 and 11. You get to see the dome, the whatever the things called, the sphere,
Sphere.
the sphere. You get to see that. So they have that always lit up really cool, and you coming down that back straight, you get to see the mirage. You get to see the sands, the palms, all the big casinos in Las Vegas, because that is the main portion that goes down the Las Vegas Strip. So it's one of those things that it's a beautiful track to watch. It's going to be interesting to watch, and we'll get into that when we get into the timing of everything. But it's definitely a beautiful sight to see. It's fun that it's on the strip. It's going to be a spectacle for everybody. And it's going to be, I think a decent race overall. Not really great races happen here. You get to see some interesting things happen. George Russell usually always has a good race here. He tends to have fun here. But then you see, like, was it 2 years ago, we had the manhole cover incident where
Yeah,
where the
that was George Russell also, right?
yeah, was that Russell or was that Albon?
I thought it was Russell that ran over the manhole and sucked it. Maybe it was Albon.
Yeah,
For some reason I thought it was Russell.
but you can see stuff like that happen. It's like, hey, good job, USA. Las Vegas Grand Prix. Just leave your manhole covers open, and let them fly out as these cars come by at 220 miles per hour. But again, it's going to be an interesting race. It's kind of the last big event race before the last two good, races, on actual circuits and actual stuff. So this will be the last big event. I think overall you can see the big spectacle of it. So, what do you think about
So,
this track overall?
well, I did Google them while you were talking. I did Google. It was two. It was Sainz and Ocon hit ran over it.
Signs.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So I
I
thought it
gotta
was
be
Williams,
honest.
so I guess it was signs.
Well, he wasn't. I don't think he was in Williams then, but
Oh, he might
this
have
is
been.
his first year in Williams, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Um, yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I hate the circuit. I think it is visually stunning, like you said, but the racing isn't very good.
Yeah,
It's one of those. F1 is a show. I fully acknowledge that, but I'm in it for the racing, not the glitz and glamour. And this is, they're always on that line, right? Even in Monaco, like it's kind of like I don't give a crap who's in the swimming pool. I want to watch the racing, and like all of that is kind of, and this is that to an extreme. Like you said, it is very cool to watch. That's for damn sure. Like watching Formula One cars go down the strip and seeing, the famous Vegas landmarks in the background. Obviously, we end up getting the timing, but this is a night race, so you see everything lit up. It's visually stunning. The actual racing has been pretty awful. It's not technically challenging for the drivers. It is the side of F1 that I think is largely one of the things that makes F1 popular, but not the side I really enjoy.
yeah.
I love the engineering. Oh man, they tweaked this thing and that caused the car to get a tenth of a second. That's really cool, and that's not. I understand that's not how everyone consumes Formula One, and I'm not saying one's better than the other because there's an element of it that is it's entertainment, it's glitz and glamour, and that is full display in this race.
This is fast cars go vroom.
Yeah, no, it
That is
is.
this race.
In Yeah, in a setting of lights and action and yeah, and the actual racing, I have not enjoyed a Vegas Grand Prix ever. Like, man, that was a great race. It just hasn't happened. Maybe this will happen. I will say the one thing with this, as obviously the street circuit, we've been talking about how it's on the strip, could be, there are, if we like right now, Lando has really, taking control of the championship, and we like to see it through. There are incidents at this race, and there can be, championship altering incidents given where we are in the championship right now. So it could be impactful, even if the racing itself might not be great. If like Lando or Oscar puts it in the wall, that could be, that could be championship deciding at this point, especially if it's Oscar.
Yeah, which could very
Um,
well happen.
yeah, but you did mention the timing. So this is, as I said, a night race. So practice one is on. This is on a Thursday, right? This is the one where they do like Thursday. Well, I will say this is a week earlier, so it's not Thanksgiving weekend this time. So it's the week before. It's been historically on Thanksgiving weekend. But practice one, 7:30 on Thursday. Practice two, 11 on Thursday, and then the qualifying is on Friday at 7:30. I mean, practice Friday at 7:30, race Friday at 11 p.m. Qualifying Friday at 11 p.m. The race Saturday at 11 p.m. Now these are our time, so subtract 3 hours. But yeah, and so but yeah, it's one of those weird Thursday to Saturday schedules, and it's late at night, so it basically carries off into almost midnight Vegas time when they're done. Obviously, past midnight our time. Now, you think Vegas, you think sun, desert, heat. Not this time of year. And this is a variable as we look at the weather. That is cold. That's because they're going to be at night again, so it's not, those highs. They're not going to be driving during the highs, so it should be in probably the low 50s, high 40s at race time. That's cold for these
Interesting.
cars to run in.
That's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it is so cooling won't be an issue on the car, but these are cars that are not designed to run in temperatures that cold. I remember years ago, I think this is the COVID year where they were just trying whatever track they could get to. Didn't really want to travel all over the world when they ran. I believe it was Nürburgring that they ran at, where it was almost freezing temperatures. And yeah, a lot of the engines just had issues. They're just not designed to run in that window. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. Don't expect. I know this is a 12% chance. I don't expect any precipitation, but yeah, the cold could be an interesting variable. How do these engines respond? How do the tires respond? Oh, I should mention it is the hardest actual set, the C6s. They've fortunately appeared to have jettisoned to the dustbin of history. So the C3, C4, C5, but again, in the past they've had some issue, getting the tires up to temperature on a colder circuit, and this is definitely that. So it'll be interesting to see how the engines respond, how the aerodynamics respond, how the tires respond to what is much colder than what they're used to driving in, what the cars are designed to run in. So it's another variable to throw out there.
Well, I mean, to get into the technical aspect of these cars that we love so much, you got to remember these engines are tight, and what I mean by that is they have to pump in hot oil into the car, into the engine, before they can even try to start the engine. So like you think about our normal cars, that we have, we start the car up, it could be sitting outside for a week and a half, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, not touching, nobody's touched the car. It could be freezing cold, it could be burning hot outside, whatever. You start the car up, it moves oil around that engine to lubricate everything, to make sure everything stays okay and stays, alive in that engine. These engines, if you tried to start it up without doing anything, they wouldn't move. They're so tight. The tolerance in there is so tight between the pistons and the piston walls and the crankshafts and the everything the camshafts and everything that's in there, that they literally have to pump in from the outside heated oil into the engine just to make sure that there's enough lubrication to start the car up, not even to keep it running, but just to get it started. That's how tight these tolerances are. So when we talk about, the fact that these engines could be cold to the point to where they could damage themselves, that's what Vish was just saying. Is that it literally, the viscosity of this oil might not get to the right, the right level it needs to get at in order for these engines to be able to not break themselves apart or run themselves apart, pretty much. So,
Yeah, and
that's
then
that's
then you
the
got to
that's the
talk.
technicality of it that we love to see in Formula One, is how are they going to cope with that?
Right, and then another wrinkle on that too is, okay, so who's going to turn their engine down a little bit just to make sure that it doesn't blow
Exactly.
and all of that, and then probably some of the teams want to the back are like, screw this, we'll go full bore and see what happens. Where maybe McLaren doesn't do that, knowing they just want to finish, make sure they finish and get out, especially Norris, get out of there with. They say Norris finishes top five, he'll be fine coming out of the weekend. So he just doesn't want to DNF at this point, especially with the race on a street circuit with a lot of variables. When I think he pretty much knows he can put it on the podium in Qatar and Abu Dhabi down the year. All right, Evan. Predictions time. You nailed a large portion of the prediction last week, so have at it. Let's tell us what's about to happen in Vegas. Well, not about to happen in a couple of weeks.
I'm gonna go Lando one. I just think he's on a form right now that nobody else is kind of able to touch. I think that he's shown a pretty good, a pretty good feel for street circuits. Winning here in Miami. He's had some other good races on street circuits. I think the first race he almost won was at Sochi, which was a street circuit as well, but that was in the rain, and he didn't end up winning that race because they just didn't decide to do the right thing. But anyways, I'm gonna go Lando one. I'm gonna go Russell two this week because Russell has been pretty good here. In Las Vegas, and with the fact that it's going to be a cooler race, we have seen that in the cooler temperatures that Mercedes does like to run a little bit better. So I'm going to go Russell two. I think is going to want to come out and show his dominance over Kimi because Kimi really put it to him this week. So we'll see if he can come out and kind of give him one back next or in 2 weeks in Vegas. But I'm gonna go Lando, George, and then I'm gonna go Hamilton. I'm gonna go
Wow.
Hamilton. I think Hamilton, you know, the Ferraris can be good in street circuits. I think that we have seen them do pretty good overall in street circuits, especially a couple years back in Vegas. Um, and I think that Hamilton just wants to come out and have something. I think he's due for something good. I think he's due for especially after this weekend for a good result to happen for him, and maybe this is that opportunity here. Um, so my surprise, I'm gonna say my surprise is gonna be Oscar outside of the top five. I'm gonna say Oscar is
So
gonna.
you have another nightmare race for Oscar.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
think he's
think he's.
finished fifth 3 races in a row, I believe was the number.
Yeah.
So he's
So
been
so
struggling. I think it's gonna get worse.
yeah, I think he's gonna be outside of the top five because I think that this is the type of track that if you do try to push it a little bit too hard, if you do try to make that aggressive move that he's been trying to make to try to get into a situation where he's gonna put himself ahead of somebody or try to get ahead of somebody, that it's gonna bite you right back, and it could be a situation maybe he doesn't crash, but he goes off the road and at the end of the strip, or he has an incident where maybe he knocks off the end plate of his wing and has to come in for an extra pit stop, or there's something like that'll happen because he's going to try to be a little bit too aggressive because he still wants to win this championship. And I mean, more power to him to do the best that you can, but at this point, if you're going to push yourself too hard, something's going to happen, and this is the type of track that something could happen.
Yep, something can definitely happen here. Harley's got Max, Lando, Kimmy, and then Hamilton DNF. So for a second there, I thought we were going to match. I have Lando winning. I agree with you. I think he's taking control of this championship. I think he's in the zone right now. And he's the fastest driver on the circuit, and he's in the fastest car. And to me, I think he's gonna just win the last 3 races, to be honest. I think he's in control of this thing. I also put George second. I did not see that when you said George. I was like, really, man? You doing this? But then I have Kimmy third, um, not Lewis, and I have my surprise. Sorry, Carly, Max DNF. I think he's gonna push too much. I think similar to your logic with Oscar. I think he's gonna push a little bit too much, and that'll cause him to crash.
I mean,
So
this is the track that it would happen at because again, you got the walls, you got everybody's bunched in there together. It's definitely the possibility here.
and then we got another prediction: Lando, Max, Charles, or Albon, or
Yeah,
you gotta commit, man.
yeah, but come on. I mean,
We don't take wars.
Alba would be great.
Maybe Albon would be
Monticello's on
an
there.
insane surprise pick because that Williams is falling off pretty bad. I am very frequently wrong, Carly, so I am used to it. I will gladly wear that wrongness as a badge of honor. That's generally I suck at predicting. So if I say DNF, he'll probably win the race. But anyway, yeah. So we'll be. You gotta step up and do it, though. You gotta step up and do it.
Mhm.
Go get your boy Evan. Make him commit to it.
Nah, come on, Morgan. You
I
can
went
figure it
all
out.
in on Bortoletto top 7 last week, and look how where that left me. So come on.
Come on, Morgan. Commit to it. I'm surprised.
Anyway,
I'm surprised Morgan's even in the chat. He just got a nice little early Christmas present from grandpa today. He got the new NASCAR 25 game,
Nice.
so he's all excited about that.
All right, he has committed. That's nice. That's a great gift, and he has committed Charles in P3. So that means Morgan's got Lando, Max, and then Charles.
Yep. There you go.
All right. Well, we'll be back in a time. I had a work commitment next week, which is why we did Vegas's preview already. But we will be back in a couple weeks, review that, and then I believe it's a race every week to the end. There's 2 more. Man, there's only 2 more weeks left after one season after Vegas. Damn. It'll be Qatar and then straight over to Abu Dhabi to finish. The Nicholas Latifi Memorial Ruin, the freaking championship crash scene in Abu Dhabi to close things up. Jeff came with a late pick. Lando. I agree. This is Lando's championship. He has seized it, and I think he's going to just carry it over the finish line now. Well, Evan, it's a fun show, fun weekend. It's great to see Lando on top. We never gave up on him.
Never give up.
And honestly, the last thing that bad that happened to him wasn't him. His engine blew out in the Netherlands, and he kept his head down. And for him to already be, almost a full race up with 3 races to go is very impressive. So
For sure.
we'll see if he can finish it out. Otherwise, Oscar is still. If Oscar can put, I will say, if Oscar, can he's got to completely turn it around. If he can start winning some races, he can put some of that pressure back on. So we will see. Thanks, Evan, for joining me as always.
Of course.